How many people just had fun by show of hands? Wow. Virtually everybody. That's awesome. I did too. How many people thought of somebody during the presentation and you thought, gee, I wish so-and-so were here to see this. I wish I could share this with somebody. Lots of you. Very large percentage. How many people actually took photos or videos to share with that person? A whole bunch of people. There's a word for this. It's called engagement. Engagement is when we feel compelled to share something that we've experienced that moves us, it's inspiring, it's positive. When we feel compelled to share that, we call it engagement. How many people know what NPS survey is? Anybody know what NPS is? So a few of you. What does it stand for? Net Promoter Score. Only a couple of you raised your hands, but all of you have participated in something called a Net Promoter Score. That's when you've experienced a service or a product, and then you get a little survey saying how likely would you be to recommend our products or services to your friends, family members, or colleagues. You've all done those, right? So here's what I want to do. Just out of a point of interest around this issue of engagement, I want to do an NPS survey about what you just saw. So here's how it goes. Imagine the waiter just finished. You finished your breakfast and you haven't seen the show yet. How many people at that point, had we taken an NPS study, would have recommended my services by show of hands? How many people? Net Promoter Score, thank you, ma'am. We got 1, 2. Oh boy, that's kind of embarrassing. All right, so we're up to not even 2%, somewhere between 0 and 2%. All right, now that you've seen the entire presentation front to back, you've seen and experienced the whole thing, how many people by show of hands would be likely to recommend my services to friends, family member, or colleagues by show of... Whoa! Well, we've gone zoomed from like 2 up to about, we're at like 95%. So that's amazing. Same person from 0 to 95% turning brand detractors into brand loyalists. Well, here's my question for you. What changed? What was the difference between part 1 and part 2?
The service.
Say that again?
The service.
The service changed. What else?
You involved your audience.
I involve the audience. What else?
Your message.
My message. Context. Very nice. Nice way of putting it. What else? Absurdity. What else changed? Come on, you all raised your hand. You went from a detractor to a promoter. Why did you raise your hand? Think about it. What's that?
Entertainment.
Entertainment. What else? The experience. What else? Pardon? You were engaged. Why were you engaged? Now, let's just connect the dots here. We're obviously talking about you and your services and your business and what you're offering, because all the things you're naming are how we engage people. Think, why were you engaged? What turned it around for you? Any more suggestions? What was your experience? Brought other people into it. Excellent. What else? Humor. A big unicycle.
You kind of wanted to see what came next.
You wanted to see what came next. Good. Now you're thinking. You know, all of these things you're naming, you can implement in your associations. You're brainstorming about what creates a high level of engagement. So here's the thing. We have turned a room full of people who were in this mood. How many people are aware you had a look on your face very much like this during the waiter routine? Yes, many of you did. You better raise your hand, ma'am. So we have converted a room full of this into a room full of this. People happy, excited. So how did that happen? Well, I'll tell you how it happened. I am a professional engagement expert. That's how I describe my function. I have a little bit of a different title because what I do is I break rules for a living. From my perspective as an entertainer and presenter, what I've found over the last 30 years of presenting is that it's actually breaking the willingness to break a bunch of hidden rules in our culture that people are dying to bust out of that creates a high level of engagement. I call myself a professional misbehavior. This is what I do for a living. And I'm suggesting you could misbehave a little bit more. I'm going to give you some ideas about that. So here's how it goes from getting a bunch of suits, a bunch of corporate suits, sitting in the audience to participating like this. People I've never met before, within a few minutes, here they are, up on stage like many of you who were up here helping. How about a big hand for those people who came up? So what we enrolled people into is what I call intelligent misbehavior. So we're going to enroll people in intelligent misbehavior, and this is something you can do in your associations. Everyone longs to break out of the patterns that they're locked into. You have a role, you have duties, but when you get locked into habit patterns that you never break out of, what happens is people go to sleep. They just like, oh yeah, sure, I've seen this form before. I've been to an event just like this before. If you want to engage your members, you've got to break some rules. To attract, acquire, engage, and empower, you need to know about intelligent misbehavior. We're going to break some rules because in your role, there's a lot of things you're responsible for. There's a lot of roles you play. You're a psychologist, salesman, bookkeeper, marketer, enforcer, technology officer, customer service provider, event planner, and more. Is this true? Yeah. You got to do all this stuff every day. So what does that make you? Crazy? Well, what does it make you? You're good at what? What do you do most of all day? What's that? Multitask? Juggling. But what's the context of that? What are you doing for your members and your association? You're doing all of that, but I see you as a problem solver. That's what you're doing all day long. You got to solve one problem after the next. Yes? Is that true? We're nodding your head. So here's the thing about problem solving. Problem solving is all about going from one state or condition into a better one. You got to make a positive change. That's what you're doing in all these various roles. You need to know what the 7 obstacles to change are. Because there are 7 obstacles to change, and if you don't know about them, you're not going to be able to make those positive and effective changes the way you hope to. Okay? So we're going to talk about what these are. Does this look like an agent of change to you? No, of course not. Because this person underneath, unconsciously, is following a bunch of hidden rules. And what that does is it locks up our energy. We don't have the energy for change, for leadership, when we're rule following. So we're going to break some rules here. This is my company, Break a Rule. And the purpose of today, besides having a whole bunch of fun, is to demonstrate for you where you can find possibility at work that you've left on the table. Where you can find an opportunity to move things and turn things around and create engagement that you've missed. My mission here is to inspire you to take actions of intelligent misbehavior. And intelligent misbehavior is the willingness to break rules to increase happiness and productivity for yourself and for others. How many people, by show of hands, have children? Wow, that's a big number of you. How many people have one child? One child. 2 children. Wow, 3 children. 4 children. 5 children. Anybody? No? Back to 4? Who had 4? That's crazy. Right. You all have a bunch of kids. I have 3 children myself, so I know something about children. Plus, I was a child at one point in my life. How many people in the audience, by show of hands, once were children? By show of hands, a very high percentage of you. So you know about kids. You have them. You were one. Kids are the most happy and productive people on the planet. They're the closest reference point for intelligent misbehavior that you have access to. They get so much done over the course of the day. You spend a couple hours at the end of the day undoing all the stuff they did, right? You got to clean the stuff off the walls and take the things out of the oven and all that, picking up after. So children are happy and productive. You have access to them. You know, I was presenting about a month ago, and a father came up to me afterwards. He said, "What you said about kids is so right. Happy, productive." So I got a picture I'd like to show you of my daughter, very happy, productive child. Would you like to see it? I said, yeah. Would you all like to see the photo? Here's what a happy and productive child looks like. He gave me this photo and said it would be okay to share with you guys after. That is what happiness and productivity looks like. Few of us are willing to get this messy and color outside the lines, way outside the lines. Let's look at kids, because they're our inspiration right now. Worldwide, how do children behave that makes them so happy and productive? Let's have a look at it. How do kids create change so effectively? They experience the moment. They express authenticity. They declare their passion. They imagine what's possible. This resonating? This your kids I'm describing? Yeah? They leap into action. They seek connection. And finally, they ask for what they need. These are 7 very powerful habits of change and of the intelligent misbehavior. The problem is we have been conditioned to stop doing what comes naturally to the human spirit. A 2013 Gallup poll shows that 70% of the global workforce is disengaged. How did that happen? If we start off hardwired as kids to be this engaging and this involved, how did we get to the point where 70% of the world's workforce is disengaged? How did that happen?
Stop being fun.
It stopped being fun, but how and why did it stop being fun for us? And that's what we're going to explore here for a minute. So we're going to do something called the 3-question game. We're going to start to see if we can dive in and just have a look at what happened to us. Here's how it works. I'm going to ask you 3 questions in succession. Your job is to answer them out loud without hesitating in unison. Out loud without hesitating in unison. Everybody ready? Yes. Oh, come on. Everybody ready? Yes. Here we go. What's the largest appliance in your kitchen? What's the standard color of this appliance? White. What do cows drink? Milk. Cows drink water, of course. The point is, you and I can be trained into following a line of associations that lead us to a completely faulty conclusion. We just saw it in spades. A whole room full of people shouting out in unison the wrong answer. You have been trained to live the wrong answers about how to engage and how to be engaging. Here's where we get trained. One place, we get a lot of training sitting in front of this machine. As probably some of your children are maybe getting this training at this moment. I don't know. but this is what we use. We use it for ourselves. We use it for our kids. It's a training device, and it's about how to follow rules. I want to share a fact with you. The average total TV watch by the age of 70 is a total of 7 to 10 years of your life. That's average. That's the average. You spend 7 to 10 years of your life in front of that machine. This is me performing on Robson Street in Vancouver, BC, in front of the art gallery. How many people have been to Vancouver before? Lovely. That's 25 years ago when I first started trying to figure out how can I help wake people up? How can I bring people to life a little bit? People are just walking down the street. How can I change their day? That's what compelled me to do all these crazy things. And over the course of that 30 years of figuring out how to do that, I realized about 6 years ago that I had really learned something about people. About our culture, Western culture, and where we get stuck in relationship to cooperation, collaboration, teamwork, participation. And so what I started doing is writing down all the stories of all the things that had happened over the course of the years that illustrated where we're at as a culture, where we top out. And I wrote a book. It's called 7 Rules You Were Born to Break. 7 Rules You Were Born to Break. And what it's about is how human beings behave, and especially what we default to when we find ourselves in challenging circumstances. So let's talk about challenging circumstances. Let's go to where we are right here today, here in Indianapolis. And let's look at what just happened during the waiter portion of the presentation. Because what was going on there is you were being placed in a challenging circumstance, right? Yep, your expectations were hardly being met. This was not on your agenda for this morning, to have water splash from a height of 3 feet all over your whatever. Where's Lisa? Where's Lisa? Lisa just looks at me and she just goes, "Now you're just splashing that water everywhere. Is that your job?" You did apologize, but no apology was necessary. It was actually very sweet and engaging. So what she pointed out is that maybe that's not quite appropriate, but she did it in the kindest and a very relational way. Many others of you had other kinds of responses. Let's look at what some of these responses are. What the obstacles to change and what the rules will look like. Here's the first one. We have the first obstacle to change, which is ignoring reality. So here's a woman I'm pouring over her head from a height of 3 feet. And this fellow was there on his phone texting. So I decided to see how long I could pour, trickling it. So I poured really slowly. I was there for about 2 minutes. The guy never looked up from his phone the whole time.
Tweeting about it.
Ignoring reality. The first obstacle to change. Now there's a rule that we're following when we ignore reality. Here's what I call this rule: pretend you don't matter. Big rule in our culture. We are trained to feel completely justified to tune out anywhere we want, anytime. In transit, on a subway, at work, walking down the street, even with our families. If we decide, hey, I want to tune out, all we got to do is pick this up, put it in front of our face, or it has become justifiable to just not be present. Right? We follow this rule. Here's another thing people do, which is suppressing emotion. So you have this feeling bubbling up. Here's this thing that's happening. If you break the first rule and you're actually present, what happens is you start having feelings about what's actually going on. But a lot of people are uncomfortable having feelings because that's another rule in our culture, not to show our feelings or emotions. And it shows up by people doing this all the time. When I'm doing the waiter thing, they cover their mouth, cover their face. Oh my God, I can't believe this. I don't want anybody to see how I'm feeling about this. Is anybody else feeling like this? No, we suppress our emotion because we're following another rule. Rule number 2, be normal. Fit in. Don't stand out. And nothing makes you stand out more than your feelings. When you start having authentic feelings, you become a real, visible person. And you have energy and the ability to start making change. The third obstacle, here's people do. Sure, I'll just let you put my head in your armpit while you try and pour that water. In fact, I'll bend over backwards to make sure you can do that. Bending over backwards for somebody else who we place in a position of authority, even when we have a different idea of how things should go, is called deferring to authority. That's the obstacle. And the rule is trying to be popular. We don't want to disagree with anyone or have anyone disagree with us. We don't want to lose the favor or the vote of whoever's in power. So we defer to authority and we let people do all kinds of stuff that we ought to be speaking up about. Yes? Absolutely. So that's rule number 3, being popular. Here's the 4th obstacle to change: imagining the worst. These people are talking to each other right after I left the table. It's just going, what is going on here? Can you believe what he just did? I wonder what's that? Do you think he maybe forgot to take his medication? Maybe he's the son of the GM. What's that in his pocket? Could that be a weapon? Oh my God. How many people's minds went down this road, imagining the worst? Yeah, look, no, come on. How many people were imagining the worst by show of hands? Lots of you. It's what we do. It's human. But why do we do that? Why do we leap to the worst case scenario right away? What are we trying to do? Anyone want to guess what this rule is that we follow? What's the rule we're following?
Stereotype.
Stereotypes? Anybody else? What's the rule? Always be prepared. Good. That's close. That's very close to what the rule is, but it's got a negative spin on it. Prepare for the worst. Prepare. You guys are right around the whole thing. Here's how I language it. Avoid mistakes. That's the rule. We teach it from day 1 in school to kids. Right? Get the answer right. Avoid mistakes. Here's the next one. Obstacle to change, evading effort. So now you guys broke this rule today, because when I tripped and fell with that tray of stuff, about 18 people got out of their seats to come up and try and help me. So you really broke this rule. In many events, not a single person, this is what you get. In many events, you'll get a whole bunch of people sitting there looking at me, scrambling around on the floor, and no one getting up to help. It's because we've also been trained to stay comfortable. That's rule number 5. We want to break a sweat. We don't have to. Everything's right at our fingertips. I can order on Amazon and have it delivered right to my door. I don't even have to go out and get it, whether it's food or clothes or anything else I need. We're trained into being comfortable. Here's the 6th obstacle to change. Is that a dirty look or what? So there's a way, when things aren't going according to plan, that we try and get people to fall in with what we want. It's not overt, it's covert. We do it a lot with expressions like this. And the obstacle to change here is defending territory. This is a look of the defense of territory right here. And the rule is be independent. We disconnect from people when, rather than just saying to the waiter, "Hi, how are you? Are you feeling okay today? Did you have a bad morning? How long have you been employed here? How long do you expect to be employed here?" any of that would be an engaging call to a waiter character. This is not engaging, obviously. This is the opposite of engagement. This is controlling others. And here's the 7th obstacle to change: denying our needs. You need anything, sir? No, I'm just fine. Can't believe this is going on, but no, I'm just fine. I don't need anything. How many people try to do everything on your own? How many people I do it all in my office, and this is a big one for me. It's very difficult for me to break this rule. Because in order to overcome the obstacle of denying our needs, we have to break rule number 7, which is stay in control. We need to be willing to admit we don't have all the answers, we're in need of help, and be vulnerable and willing to receive support from people. So these are all the 7 rules that you were born to break. Okay? I believe the willingness to break these hidden social rules is the key to fully engaging yourself, your team, and your members. Please complete the following sentence. We've got to get you engaged again. I know you're thinking, but we're going to keep showing you how deeply embedded this stuff is, all right? Why don't you complete the following sentence again? Let's do it in unison, okay? Aren't you glad? Very good. Don't leave home. Excellent. Have it. The ultimate. Perfect. Now, it may seem relatively inconsequential that you can perfectly complete 4 marketing slogans with the end of the sentence. However, every single one of you in the room knew the answer to these 4 questions. How do you complete this sentence? And hidden underneath, embedded in this approach for marketing these products or services is the rule: be normal, avoid mistakes, stay comfortable, and be independent. Just as an example, in many of the products or services that you buy, they market towards reinforcement of meeting these rule needs that we have. We're taught to follow the rules, not how to break them. Come on, go ahead, make the face. I know you want to. Everybody go, make the face. Yeah, make the face. We had to break the rules. I want to show you, actually, before we do that. So, children are our model. There's a lot we can learn from kids. I want to show you some answers to test questions on actual school tests. The way some children answered some questions that are demonstration of what intelligent misbehavior looks like, okay? Here's the first one. What ended in 1896? The answer, 1895. The first cells were probably lonely. The strongest force on earth is love. We live in a world where perfect logic, intelligent misbehavior, and emotional intelligence are marked wrong. Just like this answer was marked wrong on this test. We have been trained to follow rules. Kids are an example we need to follow to be able to go from ignoring reality to being present in the moment, to taking delight in whatever is happening, to go from suppressing emotion to expressing authentically, willing to let that emotion show on our face and in our bodies, to go from deferring to authority to declaring a vision. Hey, that's not how I imagine this breakfast going. Let's talk about this. I have a different idea here. You can see the difference in energy there. To go from imagining the worst to taking a risk. There's an intelligent misbehavior for you. to go from evading work to making an effort. Here, let me help you here. I'll meet you halfway. Put my body on the line. I'm willing to get up, move, help you out here. Or make some comments like this gentleman once did about 3 times when I came by. He's saying to me, "You're doing a great job. Good work. Hey, I think you need to pour that a little higher." Like egging me on. Totally engaging. Totally engaging. A lot of you made these sort of comments. A lot of you took that opportunity. And then the habit, for most of us, is just a kind of denial. 7th, defending territory. I remember this fellow. Remember him. I came back over to his table. I had been there about 3 times. He was getting a little more frustrated each time. And finally he just turned on me. He said, "I want you to go over there and don't come back near me for the rest of this meal." And we got a picture of it. This is command and control. This is top-down leadership. Not very engaging. What is engaging is to show interest in others and empower them. Ask them questions. Find out about their own experience like these 2 people are doing here with me in this photo. And finally, we need to move from denying our needs to asking for help. The willingness to reach out and say, "Hey, I could really use some help here." So there's a simple way to get from rule following to actions of intelligent misbehavior. It's very simple, okay? Here's what it is. 7 questions for doing great work. There are 7 simple, several-word questions that you can ask yourself at any point in time if you want to engage yourself or others into great work. I see a lot of you picking up pens, pulling out your phone. That's good. Darn, we're out of time. Fortunately, there is a way that you can find out how to get present, be authentic, declare a vision, take a risk, make an effort, empower others, and ask for help. And the way it's going to work is I'm going to send you the questions. The reason I'm going to send them to you is if I tell them to you now, here's what's going to happen. I tried it this way for a while, so I know what happens. You're going to write them all down, and then you're going to go home and get in your office, and you're going to go, "Oh, hello, I have to pay that bill." And you're going to totally, completely forget about everything you heard here. I know, you're all nodding because it's happened to you before. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to send you these questions 1 a day. So you get a whole day to practice with each question. You can start integrating it and using it. All you have to do is go to breakarule.com/web link. That's where you can find the form. You'll sign up. What you're going to get is 1 of these a day. So there'll be an introductory email from me just saying, here's how the little course works. No gimmicks, just 7 days, 1 message a day, 7 questions to transform your engagement. You will not be added to any lists without your permission. Personal promise from me. I operate this whole system. My staff does. You'll be asked at the end if you want to subscribe and stay in touch. If you say no, you will not hear from us again. So I want you, if you want to sign up, I want you to do that right now because you're going to forget. I guarantee. It happens all the time. People go, "Oh, I'll sign up. I'll do it later." Sign up now. If you want the leverage of these questions and what we talked about today to come alive for you and you want to be able to practice it, just sign up. Okay, you guys have been incredibly attentive, wonderful, and I want to finish by thanking all of you and thanking you that not even one person hit me. You've been a wonderful audience. I hope you guys have a great year with your association.